Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology, creator of the Salesology prospecting method, and I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. So today, my very special guest is my colleague and my friend, Ivana Taylor. And Ivana has spent 35 years translating complex marketing into simple, executable strategies. She is the founder of DIYmarketers.com, and she helps entrepreneurs without huge budgets compete. And she's a self-described AI power user. We did a podcast interview with Ivana a while ago about using AI. And she tests tools for 6 hours a day. She's built follow-up systems for everyone from manufacturing companies to consultants. And today, we're going to be talking about what's actually working in cold outreach, one of my all-time favorite topics. So welcome, Ivana.
Thank you, Wendy. I don't know if this is my favorite topic, but it is a necessary topic.
It is a necessary topic. That is true. So before we dive in, let's hear the origin story. How did you get into this? How did you get into marketing? How did DIYmarketers.com come about?
Well, I had a very boring marketing career story. Like I went to college, I got a degree in marketing, started selling long distance where it was all cold calling. My lead list was a giant phone book, yellow pages or business pages or stuff like that. And we were making about like a couple hundred phone calls a day. My average was about 100 a day. So I started doing that. I got into manufacturing and have just had your basic upwardly sloping career. I topped out as the worldwide director of marketing for a division of Monsanto before I went off on my own. And right around that time, the internet started popping off and I started one blog, two blogs. And that's when I realized that I love tools and have always been in a position where there was never enough money for marketing. And so at first I was trying to show people like, look at all these great tools, but then there got to be too many tools. So now DIY Marketers is not just about tools. It's really about doing marketing on less than $17 a day. I'm even thinking about 17 minutes a day. What is it that we can do and how do we leverage these tools and technologies to make our lives easier? And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today.
Okay, well, I like that a lot because you can really go down a rabbit hole when you're talking about marketing, and you can spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time and get zero results. So here's the first question that I want to ask you, because it's kind of the common wisdom that on average, it takes somewhere between 8 to 12 touches to get a prospect just to respond, not even to close the deal, but just get them to respond. Is that really true?
Well, I have to acknowledge that it's probably different for a lot of different types of businesses and industries, but I think we can all acknowledge that number has gone up and gone up significantly. And I also want to talk about the fact that the word touches has changed. I'm preparing everyone for the number that I'm about to tell you because I don't want anyone to have a heart attack. Back in the day when I was making my phone calls, selling long distance, when you're making your calls and we think that a touch is a telephone or an email, perhaps. and that like 7, 8, 12 touches is what we're generally talking about. A company out there called Hockey Stack Labs studied 150 B2B software companies. So let's be clear about that. And found out that according to their research, it's about 266 touches. I just
Oh
about
my
fell off.
God.
Oh my God. I just about fell off my chair. But like, to that end, I think this is one of the reasons why I love you and your program so much, is because you have actually been ahead of the game on this quote unquote touch game. Everything is a touch, right? A phone call is a touch. An email is a touch. Every single piece of content that they consume about you, your company, or your offer is a touch. A social media post is a touch. LinkedIn, phone calls, website visits, webinars, direct mail pieces, comments, and engagements. All of those things count as a touch. So now that I've gone through that exhaustive list, right, and the multiples of each of those things, you can see how that could add up to a couple hundred touches, right?
Absolutely. But then the question for me as a business owner, and I'm thinking people, some of the business owners in our audience are asking the same question. If you're a small business owner with a fairly small budget, how do you create all those touches?
Such a great question. My peeve in general, the reason small business owners are confused and overwhelmed by marketing is because they haven't done the first 3 steps out of a 5-step process. Like, think about that, right? You imagine that you owned a plot of land and you just decided to go furniture shopping and bring your furniture on the land without a house, without the room set up, without understanding how you're going to use the house. You just buy in furniture because it's on sale. That doesn't work, right? So I tell people, just like in that book 7 Habits or whatever, maybe the Franklin Covey one, Sharpening the Saw, spend more time sharpening the saw. This is that kind of advice. Make sure you've done your research, that you understand your ideal customer and the problems you solve for them and the desired outcome that they have. That's even more important than a problem. Make sure you understand your industry, your ideal customer, and that you have created an offer that is valuable to them, that they want, that delivers on their desired outcome. And that once you've done those things, now you're going to understand how they buy, what information they need. All of those things are content. So even if you are doing direct marketing, meaning that you are reaching out to people, whether that's through referrals or cold calling or direct mail or however it is that you do it, you still need to build rapport. You still need to help customers answer whatever their criteria is and make sure that they are the right fit for you and that you are the right fit for them. So all of those things happen early in the marketing process. And once you understand how they go about making these choices, now you're going to understand what those touches should be. I mean, Wendy, you sort of have something like that when you're dealing with phone calls, right?
Absolutely. And we don't usually do 200 phone calls to any one prospect. But it's certainly in my experience, and it's always very interesting to me that most people in sales do not know who their ideal customer is. It's kind of amazing, but that's what I see over and over again. And so you're right. That's where it starts.
Yes. And more importantly, I was just in this conversation last Friday, and one of the things we talked about was this sales mindset, especially when you're doing outreach. And on the panel, we were talking about how, you're going to hear a lot of no's, or no just means not yet, or so on and so forth. And as someone who has made 100 phone calls a day, I can definitely, and heard a lot of no. and I know a lot of people in this audience who are successful selling, we understand that our mindset can't be one of, I'm trying to convince you and manipulate you into giving me money for something you don't need or want that will do no good for you. Right? That is not what we're up to. Our mindset and our mind frame is always to be of service, to be of assistance, to deliver on something. Like when you've gone and had a great meal at a great restaurant, you've gone and seen a great movie or a great show, and now you just want to tell everyone about it. That's sort of the mindset we want to be in, right?
Yes.
So those touches and those these are all opportunities for assisting people and helping them make good choices. That's how I look at it. Each of those touches.
Right. Well, I want to make a comment about this idea of no. If someone, I mean, I personally appreciate it if someone tells me no. If they are very clear, and I'm not talking about like, I'm busy to call me next week, but they really know, I don't want to work with you. I don't want your service. Not going to happen. It's very clearly no. They have just freed you up to go reach out to somebody else that's going to say yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that we all need to adjust our point of view. Again, in this panel last week, we had this whole conversation of how marketing is fun. Marketing can become an avoidance behavior. One of the great things about direct marketing, sales, right, which is a form of direct marketing, sales is actually like, let me just tell you what direct marketing is, because I want to hear how, you know, because it's like two sides of the same coin, right? Direct marketing, those are like the emails, the message, the awareness, the identifying the customer. If you're having this problem, you know, if you are in this category, it doesn't have to be slick and it doesn't have to be fancy. The most effective direct marketing is like, you know, do you have a virus on your computer? Like something as mundane as that. Are you over 60 and retiring in the next 6 months? Like there is something very, very boring and effective about that. But the marketing component of that is the content, is the relationship building, the rapport building of helping your audience identify themselves. The selling comes right like on top of that. Like, right? How do you do that, Wendy? Because I know you have a process for this kind of.
Yes. Well, step one is getting the prospect to talk to you, which I think is often misunderstood. Salespeople that are doing outbound, that are cold calling, often approach it as if they're trying to get a credit card right then and there. And that's a hard thing to do, but just getting somebody to talk to you, that's not so hard. So my step one is always make an appointment. And the appointment could be a Zoom call. Maybe you get in your car and you go see them. But make an appointment where it could even be a phone appointment, but they've set aside time to talk to you. Step one. So I do want to ask you, cold email. I mean, everybody gets so many emails these days, and it's not getting less; it's getting more and more. How effective is cold email? Because I keep getting all these emails about how to increase your marketing response rate with cold email, and so I'm curious about that. What works? What doesn't work?
Okay. And I'm going to immediately show my bias, and I'm going to hopefully connect with the audience, because you and I and everyone listening to this gets cold outreach emails, right? We all get them. And there is something that we can immediately recognize them. It could be by the subject line. It could be by the things they say. I hope this finds you well, or like something that immediately tells you that this is a cold outreach email. And out of the hundreds and hundreds that I get, I don't think I respond to any of them. Right. So we can start from ourselves and understand that if you are sending cold outreach emails, your response rate is going to be like 0.01. And I know you've done some experiments with cold outreach email, right? And so once again, if you want to be successful, please recognize within yourself if this is an avoidance behavior. Am I buying a list and sending to this list so that I am to avoid understanding my customer, understanding what their desired outcome is, and how I can deliver upon that desired outcome? Because it is easy and expensive to purchase a list or to use, what is the one, Zoom Info or any of these other things. If you don't know enough about your ideal customer, guess what? You're going to be spending a huge amount of money on a non-targeted list. I mean, if you have the perfect customer, your response rate is going to be like maybe, I don't know, close to 1%. Right. I mean, like you might do better, right? Because you have a very, very specific. So the more specific, the more you know, the better your results are going to be. I am an advocate for taking the time to curate this list, right? Use your social media. This is what the other touches are about. Look at the people who engaged with you on your social media. Do some research with the people who are engaging with you. Make sure that is this person going to be a referral possibility, right? They're not my ideal customer, but maybe they know my ideal customer and we can do referrals. Or are they someone who is my ideal customer? And if they are your ideal customer, do your very, very, very best to either not sell them, engage with them somehow. You can send them a note as a DM on LinkedIn, but don't pitch them anything. Like have like to your point, your first step should be to have a conversation with them. Once you've done that now, and you gauge that maybe they would be interested, you can put them into, even though that's like that's more of a warm outreach. I feel like even warm outreach is cold outreach these days. Because
absolutely.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I'm just like, I'm really, I mean, can you do these like super freezing cold outreach? Yes, you can. Is it expensive? Yes, it is. Will you be depressed? Absolutely. It'll be a lot of work because you have to create these sequences. You have to craft that first email, craft that second email, trying to get them to have a conversation with you. But my recommendation is, instead of using cold email outreach as an avoidance behavior, use it as a second step. Have your first step be very, very personal, very, very manual. You don't have to have 100 conversations like I did, right? Wendy, you don't have a ton of conversations every single day.
No.
How many do you have?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, right? There you go. I might say if you're just starting out, aim for 10, right? Aim for 10 or 20. If you're just starting out and you need sales and you need whatever, start with a higher number, right? Acknowledge yourself for what you do get. Learn from the conversations that you have. Learn about your audience. Learn about their voice. These days with these Zoom meetings and note takers, you can literally get voice of the customer because your call will be transcribed. So you can really understand, and then take the time, review those, because you're going to need to create a cold outreach sequence email. That email has to not be, I hope this finds you well. Right. These are not effective.
The
right?
subject line that I see a lot these days is quick question.
Oh, yes.
I used to use that, but I stopped.
There is nothing new under the sun. And if you really, this is like eat your vegetables kind of content that we're doing, Wendy. And it makes me sad because most marketing people are out there saying things like, 2 hours a day. This is going to be so easy. You don't have to do anything. I am sorry. I am an old person and I've had a lot of experience. And even the millionaire marketers that I have met, my friends who say that they are not working hard, they lie. They are working hard. They are doubling down. They are doing the hard work. They're having tons of conversations. Number one skill set in sales that I have been told and taught is to have conversations.
Yes.
So,
and we cut to the chase and lead with the phone.
Exactly. And Wendy, and so you guys, Wendy and I are friends. We started out as colleagues and we became personal friends over the years. And one of the things we're always talking about, because I'm on the more marketing side of things, Wendy is on the direct sales side of things. This woman has tried everything. And every time I ask her, what is working best for you? What is your response?
Picking up the phone and talking to people.
And I mean, I don't know why you would ever do anything else, but now that we have seen the statistic on how many touches it takes, we can see that people are searching for you. They're going to look at your social. They're going to look at your LinkedIn. They're going to search your name. And I remember years and years ago, someone said, Google is your homepage. Google is your homepage. People will look for your company name to understand, like, are you for real? They will look at your social profiles. They're going to look you up, right? So if you are going to reach out to people cold on email, please make sure that you're not just randomly sending out cold emails. That is a horrible waste of time and effort. It takes a lot of effort to write these emails, even with the AI. You have to tell the AI what you want. You have to tell it what works.
Yes.
You're not going to know that if you haven't done the calls. So that I know it's just like, not ice cream content. It's not candy content. It is eat your vegetables kind of content.
Well, my eat your vegetables content is, I think, piggybacking on what you're saying. You need the social media, you need the content out there to give you credibility because people are going to look. But you can cut to the chase and talk to people on the phone. And that is certainly faster than
Absolutely.
waiting for somebody to respond to your cold email.
Exactly. Because I think, Wendy, you've done, a lot of people have asked me recently, it's been a while since I've had this question. Should I buy a list? Should I buy a list? And my answer has always been no. And the reason it has been no is because there is a cost to buying the list. There is a cost to, the conversion or the engagement of the list, and the numbers is not guaranteed, so on and so forth. At least the little bit that I have done has been like, let's say I bought a list of like 10,000 and the response was like 3 to 5 people. And that could be the quality of my email. That could be all kinds of things, right? I just did a quick experiment. I mean, what's been your experience, and how do you, my upfront work is understand your industry, understand your ideal customer, so you can craft these messages, whether it's a cold email or not. And it's no longer one email. It's not even 3 emails. I think it is like a sequence of, could be 5 to 7 emails that are getting, making sure that you're addressing key points of their buying journey and why you deliver a desired outcome.
And in my experience, because I'm going to lead with the phone, I don't need 10,000 contacts. unless I have a big sales team, then I might need 10,000 contacts. But if it's just a single salesperson making phone calls, maybe you need 1,000 contacts, at least to get started. And going back to what we were discussing first, starting with that ideal customer, you absolutely need to know the parameters that define an ideal customer for you, because otherwise you're going to buy a list that is crap. You want to buy a list that meets all the parameters of what makes an ideal prospect for you. And those are concrete parameters, not what people may feel or want or need, because you can't tell that until you talk to them. The other thing is, if you are calling prospects and talking to them, you can figure out fairly quickly what works. Because if everybody that you talk to says, I'm not interested, and slams down the phone, they don't think you're saying anything interesting. So it's time to figure out something else to say. So it's a much faster process.
It is your fastest path to cash. And I think where I wouldn't mind taking this conversation is everything that Wendy just said. Having those phone conversations, learning from those phone conversations, what's going to happen over time as you have more and more of these conversations, you are absolutely going to start identifying patterns. There are going to be groups of people who respond to certain messages. And that number is going to be like, it's an odd number usually, like 3 groups, 5 groups, 7 groups. 7 is a lot. 7 is a lot. But like 3 to 5 groups of people who it could be 3 to 5 benefits or 3 to 5 outcomes that they're after or something like that. So once you've got this laid out, this is where the beauty of cold outreach comes from. Because I want to go back to something that Wendy said, is understanding these concrete parameters. So it's a good idea to go and check out some of these tools and see what parameters are they looking for. You're going to find like number of employees for a company, sales for a company, the title of a position that you're after, and like different industries have different position titles. So you want to make sure you know what that is so that you get the right people. Keywords that they use. A lot of these like outreach tools will have, or things that like look through LinkedIn and stuff like that. You're going to need to know these things, which is once again why I say start manually. Don't just buy something. Don't just automate. Make sure that you have done this process. Wendy, when you're starting a new project with a new client or something like that, what's been your experience? How long does it take to kind of run through this system that I've talked about, where you are starting manually, making these calls, creating these groups so that you can then get to a place where you have more automation?
Wow, that's a great question. Typically for us to get there, it takes several months. Because step one, as we said before, is identifying those parameters for an ideal prospect or an ideal customer. And a lot of companies don't really know that, or they make it too broad. You could have multiple different types of profiles, but each profile is going to be different because the messaging in each group is going to be different. So you have to, like, I tell my clients, pick. I don't care what you pick, just pick something. It's a starting place.
It's a pick one. So, right. So your first goal is to identify like, what are all these different groups and patterns? And then just pick one. And once you've got that, there's so many awesome tools that you can literally, as you're doing your research, you can either drop them into like a sequence manually, like just add their name, or you can upload an entire list to a sequence and go do that. So you can't automate. I guess the message from this little talk is, yes, there are 266 touches. Those touches are all the things: social media posts, phone calls, emails, multiple emails, all the different things, right? So you can see where the 266 comes from, but always start by doing the hard work first, you will be so happy. And as Wendy said, it's going to take a couple months. That's okay. Anything worth doing is going to take a couple months.
Training a ballet dancer, which was my first career, that takes a good 8 to 10 years. So a couple of months, nothing. So Ivana, I'm going to have to ask you to put your hand over your heart and promise to come back so we can talk some more about some of your tools and all the things that we did not get to today. But I know you have a gift for our listeners. So tell us about your gift.
Do have a gift for our listeners. And what I have done is, now we didn't talk a whole lot about it today, but I've created an AI follow-up architect. So, instead of giving you an ebook with templates in them, with things like every business is different, what I've done is I've created an ebook that actually has AI prompts in them to get you started so that you can create your own outreach sequence.
Well, I'm going to download that immediately.
And that's going to be in the notes. There's a link for that in the notes. You're going to fill out the form, click on the button, and you will get the little ebook thing.
Okay. And so Ivana is correct. The link to Ivana's gift is going to be in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link. And Ivana, if people want to reach you, where can people find you?
You can just search for Ivana Taylor on LinkedIn. You will find me there. DIYmarketers.com. Always recommend that people head out there. And then you can just explore.
Okay. And again, no need to Google anything because the link to DIYmarketers.com will be in the show notes. Ivana's LinkedIn profile will be in the show notes. So if you want to connect with Ivana, go to the show notes and click on the link, and you will be glad that you did. And so to our audience, you've been listening to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my very special guest, colleague, and friend, Ivana Taylor of DIYmarketers.com. And if you found value in listening to today's episode, then please think about one business owner, one sales leader, one entrepreneur, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.